Things are different, yes, but things are also not that different. The things that have always mattered the most, the story, getting the shots done, completing the project on time and under budget, those things still matter the most. Hey guys, thanks for joining me on the channel. I am back in Los Angeles from my shoot in Utah, and there is just so much that I want to be able to share with you. And I was actually delaying filming this video because I was hoping that by now we would have maybe announced something in the press and I could talk about it more, but we haven't. So mum's still the word, which is killing me because I'm dying to talk about it. But what I will share with you today is that this project was one of the best professional experiences of my life. And I know that's a big statement to make, but it's true. On set, there was an overwhelming feeling of gratitude. Everyone was so happy to be there, so happy to be working, so supportive of one another, and it was really wonderful. So in the midst of, these challenging times, there is such opportunity to also experience really beautiful times. So I wish I could share more details on it. I can't wait until I am able to do that. But for the sake of this video, I am going to be going over 4 areas that I think encapsulate what's different about being on set and what you can expect in this COVID world. Now, bear in mind that every production is going to have variations with how they handle these new protocols that are in place. So I can only share with you my personal experience with this particular production. But suffice it to say, in my conversations that I've had with other actors who are working on set currently, it comes down to 4 main areas of protocol that have been introduced in this COVID world. Number 1, quarantine. Number 2, testing. Number 3, PPEs. And number 4, separation. First, quarantine. Now, I did an entire video on quarantine. So if you're watching this video right now and you haven't yet seen that one, maybe go ahead and pause this, go watch that, come back to this, because that video is going to pretty much cover it all. And it's also a little goofy, so, you've been warned. Whether or not you're actually going to have to do a 2-week isolated quarantine is really dependent upon the circumstances of your booking and whether or not you had to travel and what this particular state's restrictions are. Your destination state, whatever their particular restrictions are, may affect how long you have to quarantine. In my situation, because I flew into Utah from Los Angeles, according to that particular state's travel laws right now in relation to the coronavirus, I was required to isolate for 14 days. Okay? But if you are a local actor here in Los Angeles and you book, say, a guest star role on a show that's shooting here in Los Angeles, there's not going to be any need for you to quarantine for 2 weeks, but you will be tested. And we're going to talk about that next. You can expect to be tested for the coronavirus prior to showing up to set your first day, whether it is a nasal test or, in my case, a saliva test. And it can possibly affect your employment if your test shows a positive result. So all the more reason to practice good safety and common sense on a daily basis to ensure your optimal health prior to booking any acting role, period. If you are only contracted to be on set for 1 day, you're probably only going to be tested once. If it's a week-long contract, you might be tested 2 to 3 times. In my case, I was there for multiple weeks, so I was tested every 2 days, and sometimes twice a day every 2 days, because, as we know, there have been a lot of false positives. And so it was very wise of production to administer 2 tests just in case one of them showed up positive. That would help them determine more if it was a false positive. Personal protective equipment. That's going to be mandatory. Masks, gloves, whatever that production requires in order to keep everyone as safe as possible. And then finally, separation. You know, in the old days when you book a show and you show up to set and lunchtime rolls around, well, you could go and sit under a tent and socialize and get your lunch and sit next to perhaps a producer or whomever and have a chance to get to know that person. Yeah, that doesn't happen because separation is part of what helps to keep you safe. When lunch arrived, we were escorted individually to the catering truck. We get our lunch, and we are then escorted back to our designated holding area. In my case, I was escorted back to my dressing room, and I ate lunch by myself. So that's a little sad because that's a large part of the tradition of getting to know other people in the cast, in the production, is lunch and mealtime. Some productions have what are called pods, and they divide them up into pod A or pod 1, pod 2, pod 3, pod 4. And the pods represent certain cast members or crew members that are designated for that pod, and they can only be around each other. Hanging out on set, even with a mask on, to watch other actors' scenes, no, that's also something that's strongly discouraged. And everybody's really nice about it. I learned it the hard way because I like to watch other people's work. And the second AD came up to me and said, "Christinna, do you need anything? Would you like me to escort you back down to your room?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah." In other words, go to your room. You're putting yourself at risk. If you are not in rehearsal or shooting a scene, you are to be in your room. And that's for the safety of yourself and for the safety of everyone else on set. So it can feel a little isolated, because it is, but it's there for a reason. If an actor, especially a primary actor in the cast, tests positive, that can really delay production. If one crew member tests positive, that can delay production, and our production was delayed twice. Separation is an important thing to keep you healthy and to ensure the least amount of risk. But it's also a bit of a bummer because if you're like me and you like to hang out on set, you like to walk around and talk to people, you know, when you're not shooting or when you're not in rehearsal, you don't get to do that anymore. Not until we're through this phase with this virus. For now, what matters the most is we are getting back to work. And that, well, that indeed is a beautiful thing. All right, so that is it for this video. I hope you found the information to be helpful, and I hope it gives you some better insight and a clearer picture of what you can expect when you show up the next time to set. In case I don't see you before the year is over, because I intend to focus the next month or so through this holiday season really connecting with my family and spending as much quality time as possible. In case I don't see you, I wish you love, I wish you connection, I wish you joy, I wish you peace, I wish you health, and I wish you happiness. And as always, be good to yourself, be good to the world, and I'll catch you next time.